We'll see here. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Hey, welcome to the weekly jargon. We are here for you jargoneers. And today we have an interesting topic. Rohi, what are we talking about?
Corporate, the big versus small, David and Goliath.
David Goliath, right? Corporate retail versus locally owned businesses.
Yeah.
And I know this strikes a chord, especially here. We're located in the Central Valley, California, traditionally loaded with small businesses. The affordability around here makes it to where a lot of the small business owners are usually some of the more wealthier individuals here, right? You could really kind of execute that American dream, if you would, by owning a small business and working it up and establishing a very beautiful life for yourself. But then what happens when Goliath comes in, right? The corporate retailer steps in and says, hey, we're coming in and we're going to dominate you. We're going to shut you down. And that's never really exactly what they say, but we see it happening, right?
It's the indirect effect of having a
for
corporate.
sure.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to this topic. Any opening statements, or should we go right to the jar?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. So let's go to the jar and see what kind of questions we have today.
All right. And Jose with his hand in the cookie jar
That's
here.
right. All right. So
All
there
right.
is a total of 6 questions, and I think we're going to see if we can pull 3 and 3, and we'll read them out.
Yeah, we'll
Do
just.
we want to pass one out each? Here we go.
Alrighty.
We'll start off with that.
Yeah, so these are asked by our guests. If you didn't get your question in this week, be sure to do that. Like, subscribe, comment. Your subscription matters. As we dump out information of the next topic for the week, it'll go out to our subscribers. So make sure you're one of those getting those alerts and you can participate in the next conversation.
And
Alrighty?
leave your comments because those comments are important. So,
Yeah, for sure. Like and subscribe. All right, let's go around the horn. Read these questions from the jargoneers out there.
All right, let's start off with, do corporate stores have better prices?
Okay.
Does your dollar extend more with corporate retail?
Okay. And then who's more affordable?
So all related to money, right? So, who wants to take a stab at it?
All right, so let's start off with the, I'm assuming the first question,
Okay.
right? And do corporate stores have better prices? And I think they do. I think they do. And I think it's only evident, right? Because their overhead, once you look at the volume that they have, I mean, I'm sure they sell a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, the cost of their overhead may be cheaper. So therefore, they can afford the markdown on prices. Whereas a local store, they have to consider not only overhead, expenses for employees and what have you. And sometimes that may drive that price a little bit higher. And I can't tell you what the margins would be, but I know that when you go to a local store here, you'll have a marked up price that's higher than a retailer like a Walmart, for example, right?
I mean, I can tell you, because of the gun business, that I think that when you say can they be cheaper, I think it's kind of deceptive. Is that you can go, for instance, to a Target. Target's not the cheapest for everything. You still have to maybe go to one store or the other to find it. If you want to really save the dollar or two or maybe even more on every single item, you can't just go to and say, hey, this store is the cheapest all around. When it comes to the gun business, there's a lot of that. Like the gun business has, what they call MAP or mandated pricing. So basically, like certain things that we have, I can't sell cheaper. We can't advertise it cheaper. It's going to be whether you go here, you go there. This is the lowest that we can show it, but you can always charge more. And I think that's where when you look at small business, it's not so much they got it for the same price. It's just that they have that opportunity. I want to ask a little bit more for it. Maybe it's because of overhead. Maybe it's just because of the fact that they're going to and people will pay it. If they walk into my store and they're looking at all these things, they're not everybody is going to look and price out every single item and say, okay, I'm going to buy this today from you, but I'm going to buy this over here from the big store because they were $5 cheaper. They're going to walk in, oh, that's a good price, and they're just going to assume everything is a good price. And I think that's kind of the deception that big retail has, is that they're bigger, so they're cheaper, so that you should naturally go there.
Kind of to your point, you think it's the market, right? If you have the angle on the market and you don't have that competition, then obviously you can mark up that price a bit more.
Correct.
But when you have competitive prices that are going across in your community, then I think you're going to see, hey, I have cheaper gas here or a cheaper product here. Come see me, right? You're
Yeah.
going to try to angle folks in there, and I think that's where you see these prices that maybe
Well, that's
marked
what, so.
down.
I mean, that was the whole gun show community, like 2019, for instance. So one of my guys, he was like, "Hey guys, you got to get into a gun show. It's like it's a lot of fun. You could move a lot of product." I was like, "All right." Went in there. Typically people go to a gun show because they think, "Oh, it's gonna be sales." No, I was like, everybody selling there was like full retail, because it's like fish in a barrel, right?
Yeah,
Everybody's there
yeah.
to buy. They
Why
think
not
it's a
make
deal.
money?
They're gonna
Right.
buy.
Yeah.
Well, what happened is, in 2019, Turner's came in. Turner's a big box store, corporate, right? And like, what are you doing at a gun show? Well, they would come in with these giant banners, and they were doing these sales. The price on it was cheaper than my cost, and we go, how can they do that? They had a trick. For one, I couldn't buy as a dealer. So, how can I not buy? Well, because they don't want you. They want you to see this banner of the 5 guns that they had on sale, and assume that everything in that display was cheaper too. And I would get guys, we'd be sitting there and be like, man, everybody's going over there. And I would, hey, did you buy something from them? Yeah, what'd you buy? I was like, it was cheaper here. Oh, well, I thought they were cheaper because, it's marketing.
They had the sales. Of
They
everything
had the
else.
sale of these things, but everything else in the display was not on sale. So it was very deceptive marketing to get people to think that, well, hey, they're big retail. There's these giant sales there, they're cheaper, and they weren't. So
Yeah. When I think about the economic value of what corporate retail does, let's not sugarcoat it. Your dollar, my question, does your dollar extend more with corporate retail? And it does, right? And it's not always how can I get the cheapest product, but how does my dollar give me the best experience, right? Mm-hmm. And, you go to a Target, and there's a Starbucks inside. You can buy popcorn. You can, it's clean. You know that there's going to be restrooms accessible to the public. All of those things, right? So they may not be the cheapest option. Product-wise, they might not have the cheapest product, which most of the time they do. But when they don't, it's like, okay, but when I'm in the store, there's going to be climate control. The lighting's going to be good. It's not going to be dirty. The restrooms are going to be maintained, all of those things, right? So the extension of that dollar is greatly improved. Now, one thing that does irritate me is business owners who do take advantage of, or what is that called? Like when there's a disaster going on, what's that called? There's a
Supply chain?
There's a
gouging,
rule
as far as gouging.
Yeah, as far as gouging, you're
Price
taking
gouging.
advantage of a situation. It's like I'm gonna jack my prices up because I know that people are subjected to here. I'm the only convenience store out in this area for miles, and so people are going to come here, and that irritates me. Right? If I see a McDonald's sign, I know what those prices are going to be. I don't have to guess and wonder if I have enough money. I know what those prices are going to be. It's already set. This Christmas, now my fault for not getting sodas prior to Christmas, right? But Christmas Day,
Hopefully
here
Pepsi,
I am.
though. Hopefully Pepsi.
Here I am, like scrounging, like thinking, oh, I got all these people coming over. I forgot to buy Coke for the Coke and whiskeys. I got to go to the store, right? I go to the convenience store closest to my house. I get 3 cases of soda, 3 12-packs. Guess what my total was? Take a wild guess.
$30.
Yeah.
It was almost $40. It was
Wow.
39 something. This guy's selling me sodas, $13 a 12-pack. That sounds like beer, right? That's
Yeah.
like beer pricing, and it's like what?
Yeah.
And I left him on the counter. I said, I'm going to make the extra trip to Pack and Save, right? And Pack and Save happened to be open. I go over there. I buy my sodas for $17.
Wow.
And wow, what a savings, right? That's what I think. That's the when we talk about small businesses, small business owners, I think there's practices that really give them that bad rep. Especially those type of retailers. Now, if you're selling niche products like guns, things of that nature. Yeah, you're selling brands there's mandates by those companies that you're selling through. So there's a little bit more regulation there, and so that for the most part, a Glock 17 is going to be the same cost, wherever, but now you win the convenience because I'd rather go here in Madera. It's locally owned. Great. Let me support that. Right. But if I show up now and you're saying, oh yeah, it's, $1,200. Like, wait a minute, Robbie, 10 miles up the road, I can go buy this thing for, $650. Right. 2 miles up the road, I can go buy my Cokes for $18
Yeah.
instead of $40. So it really that really tickles my fancy.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I would have to agree because I do see that in many cases where I have to leave stuff on the counter when I realize the price, because a lot of times you look at it and you say, wow, man, this is just, but I mean, if there's no choice, it really bothers me that I have to do it, but I do it. And again, that's where you appreciate these retailers, right? Because you can buy this for like maybe 30% less. But let's, in this case, you were talking about convenience stores, right? I mean, I get that, and in some cases, that's exactly what takes place. But when I'm looking at Walmart, for example, why that dollar extends more is because products are exported from a different country that come into Walmart that are cheaper. Now, if you create that product here, obviously there's a higher expense because of the overhead, the wages, and what have you, and disability, and you have all these elements you have to factor in. And by the time it gets to the shelf, then that's why it's marked up at that point. The indirect effect that it has in our society is that now we're not producing nothing, right? We're becoming consumers, but we're not producing goods anymore, right? And these goods are being produced overseas or a different country. And that's the effect we have. We don't look at that. Yes, it's cheaper on the dollar for us, and that's what's important to us because we want to know where that dollar can extend more. I can buy an additional loaf of bread. I can buy additional meats, fruits, vegetables, what have you. But at the end of the day, when you're buying products that are made somewhere else, you got to know that there's going to be an effect, and that's less jobs. So then folks that don't have jobs, obviously that's where you start having these issues where unemployment is high. People are dependent on the system more because there's lack of jobs. And that becomes an issue when it comes to corporate and local stores, right? If you support local, obviously you're keeping that local business, but it's hard not to go out to the retail where you need to extend that dollar a bit more. So there's a conundrum there. We have an issue where I want to support local, but I need to feed my family. And these prices tend to do that easier for me. Not thinking of the indirect hits that you're going to have later on is that we're producing less jobs.
Yeah.
We have these trade deficits that we're talking about now, and this is why America's divided. Why is it that we have to support this and support that? But again, we don't look at the effects on the long run. We just look at what it's doing for us in the short time because we need to feed our families.
I think that's where small business gets it wrong a lot of times. So for me, again, in my small business as a gun store, probably about 5 years ago, I switched gears and I wanted to start thinking like the big guys because I got fed up when I'd see like, hey, how are they selling that cheaper than me? I know my cost, and I would go to my sales rep and I said, hey, how do I compete with them? Well, there's these packages and you have to buy into them, and they're not expensive, but I mean, like you have to buy 5 or 10 of the certain item, and then you get a deal or you get something for free, And I said, okay, let me try that. But what I had to do is, again, I had to start moving volume. And that was where, for me, it changed gears in our business is that, I was making a little less, but because I was moving the volume, now I'm getting the deals. Because I'm getting the deals, now I'm looking like I can actually compete with the big guys. And I would start telling people and I'd start putting it out like, oh yeah, hey, you're cheaper or you're actually comparable. How are you able to do that? Well, because I'm thinking like them. Whereas a lot of small business say like, no, I'm gonna do less volume. I'll make a little bit more on each purchase and we'll kind of even out. Now, I'm doing more work, so it kind of looks stupid, because again, when we would go to these gun shows, the guy that was sitting next to me at the next booth, he was happy because he was selling like 5 or 6 guns at full price. And I was going, well, shoot, I just moved 30 guns. We made the same amount of money, but I would tell him, like, look, I have 30 people coming to my store now. You only have 6. So when those people come and walk in and they go like, hey, I want to buy the next thing, or I need accessories, or I need all that, I have 5 times, already the volume of people buying. Yeah, everything that's going to go along with it, let alone now they already got in their head, this guy is cheaper than that guy, I'm always going to come to you. And I think that's where you got to switch gears. You're not just saying it's about small business. I'm going to charge a little bit more. I'm going to make that extra dollar because, like you said, if you have a choice next time, you're not going to go back to that convenience store that took advantage of you. You're going to go, well, I'm going to drive that extra whatever to save money. So.
When you give that example, I can't help but to think of like the definition of lazy for a small business owner. A generation back, lazy meant, I'm not lazy. I get up at 5 a.m. I'm the first to open up the store, and I'm the last to leave at, 9 p.m. I'm not lazy. I work my tail off, right? I'm sweeping, and there's always something to do, right? But those, what worked then isn't necessarily what works today, right? And I think a lot of small business owners, they fall into the trap of not wanting to evolve their marketing tactics, not wanting to evolve their business. If you're still bookkeeping on, paper and writing everything in and trying to do you're wasting time. So you're working harder, but you're not working smarter, right? And when, so you're less efficient, you're slower. The experience to the consumer is subpar because you don't have. Hey, what were those bullets? In a tight knit small business, you might know your favorite customers, but if you just went in there one time, they can't look up. A lot of guys can't look up your previous transactions. They just don't have the systems built for that, right? But if I go to Lowe's and I bought certain nails, I can go in there and say, hey, I used this debit card to buy some nails. Can you tell me which ones they were? Yeah, here you go, right? Yeah. So the customer experience, we have to evolve. If you're a small business owner, you have to evolve the way you do business in order to just get with the times, and I think I see a lot of people fall. Now, I do have a tolerance for, I think the biggest tolerance I have for small businesses, where I prefer small businesses over corporate retail, is the food, right? Yeah. I genuinely enjoy a restaurant. And I will define that restaurant versus, I'm not talking about fast food, obviously, right? Because again, if I see Golden Arches, I know exactly what the food's going to taste like, and I know exactly how much I'm going to have to pay for it, right? But these, Mexican restaurants all over the place here in the Central Valley, but a nice, good restaurant, Mexican restaurant, whatever it might be, Italian restaurant. We have a couple here in our own community. I enjoy that, right? It's local recipes, homemade. You can't buy it anywhere. It's an experience. And I will pay extra for that experience, right? For that uniqueness. So I think those individuals are at an advantage when it comes to being able to price up a little bit, not worry so much about, okay, well, what's this chain? What's Applebee's selling their meals for? Because I'm not going to Applebee's. Yeah. I'm going to this custom meal. But again, the way they for those businesses, typically the overhead's a lot more expensive, things of that nature. So they have to also be very careful to manage that business effectively so that they can stay in business, right? Yeah.
And I like how you put it, because you hit the nail on the head. You tolerate because those businesses are unique in itself, right? I mean, if we're talking about products that we can get at a local convenience store versus a Walmart, for example, then I think it's going to be an easy decision that you're going to jump out here. But I think local businesses that have the market for themselves, and I think they produce something that it's not something that big box stores can produce. Food, maybe one of those, right? I mean, you can run to Taco Bell, you can run to the frozen section at Pack and Save or Save Mart, and then you'll find these frozen tacos, but it's not the experience that you talked about. It's not that authentic Mexican food or Italian food or what have you, but you find that experience and you're willing to pay for that experience and that service that you can't find in these big box retail stores, right? Agreed. So yeah. I think that's important to note, is that in local businesses, you may have a dressmaker that you can't find this at Walmart. You can find the fashion out here, but you don't have something that dressmaker has. Right. And if you don't evolve with how businesses are running, then essentially you are going to be priced out, and essentially that's how you phase out. And I think that's what happened in our community when a retail store like Walmart came in, right? I think there was a lot of talk in that hey, Walmart came in and knocked out all these businesses and these local businesses. And a lot of it is because the products that they were selling were the same products that we're selling out here, and it just so happened that it was cheaper here. And I think at the end of the day, going back to what I said originally, I think it's that how far that dollar extends. And to some folks, especially in areas that may be social economically challenged, then they're going to select whatever's cheaper. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. We always want to say buy local, stay local. And why not? We do. We want to be able to put that message out there. But at the end of the day, I can't tell somebody that has only $10 that has to stretch out that $10 versus someone that has $100, right?
Yeah. And I think, convenience is a huge thing too, right? If I go to Walmart, I know that I can buy an outfit. I can buy electronics. I can buy toys. I can buy stuff for my pets. I can buy stuff for my car. I can buy some groceries, candies, stationary stuff, school supplies for my kid. I can even buy a ring, jewelry. They have it's a one-stop shop, all in there, all within the comfort of their big facility, ran corporately. The lights are going to be on. The temperature is going to be controlled, right? And they usually have a McDonald's. Ours has a Dunkin' Donuts, right? All of those extra convenience factors, it's very hard to compete with, And again, I think we all, love the small town home feel, right? And a lot of people, we watch the Hallmark shows during Christmas time, and we get excited. Oh man, look at that town. I wish I could live in a town like that, right? But what's happening in those movies, right? Oh, hey, Joe's business is struggling. Let's rally the community, right? Let's go all support him and show up to his Christmas party and buy out the shelves and everything, and then they lived happily ever after, right? Well, that's what the Hallmark story tells. But you supported that man for that 1 month. Well, what happens January, February, March, April, and so on and so forth? Are you guys going to keep coming back? Probably not, right? So, we want that fairy tale ending. We want that beautiful Hallmark community. But the reality is, when you're opening a business, you have to consider the environment that you're in, the demographic you're in, all of those things. Is there a need for my product or service that I'm providing? And can I sustain each and every single month with what I'm offering, right? And if you're putting up a toy shop or a toy store, you got to say, man, well, there's a Walmart right there, and they have every toy. They have the ability to, just sit on toys where I'm, only making purchases with things that I think are going to move so that I'm not losing money off of it, right? And so that business planning is super, super important. Knowing your market. Here in Madera, we've experienced some closures of businesses, going through one right now. And the community's in uproar. It's like, why does the city do that? Why does Jose Rodriguez on the city council approve this?
Bring it on. Huh?
Why does Jose Rodriguez, the city councilman, want so many Starbucks? Why does he want In-N-Out to come? Why does he? That's a locally owned establishment, right? Well, these are all businesses. Every business has the obligation to make their own decisions. Starbucks chooses to be in Madera. They're making that investment, right? There's things that need to be approved by the city in order for them to come here, right? But the city's not going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you want to invest in our town? No, get out of here," right? Starbucks is an example right there off of Cleveland. They made that corner look beautiful. There's a nice, beautiful Starbucks right there where it was an old, beat up, rundown Long John Silver's and just vacant and just looked terrible, right? And that's right in the center of our town. And now it's beautified, right?
And that's what
that
it is.
does.
It's catering to the demand of what people want. And a lot of the times, times are changing, and as change happens, these retailers look at demographics. A lot of people ask me, why don't we have a Costco? Well, that's not a question for the city. It's a question for Costco. Does Costco want to bring their business here? And if they do, they look at certain measurements, right? Data is important for them. Well, within 25 miles, how many people can I capture to come to my store that's not going to affect the other store that I have out here? So they factor that in, and obviously they make their decisions based on that. McDonald's is no different. A lot of times, you go back to McDonald's way, they were looking at churches. How far, can I put a McDonald's away from church? Because after Sunday, I remember us, hey, let's go to McDonald's. And that's what they based it off of certain data, right? And I'm sure that when it comes to In-N-Out and what have you, and unfortunately, it's going to happen where certain businesses are going to be closed down. And a lot of times, people want to blame someone or they want to blame something for that. But you have to look at it this way. If it's closing down, ask yourself that question. Are you supporting that business? Or are you mad because it's no longer there? So if you are supporting the business, it's great. Then more people should do the same, and that's why that business stays intact. But if you're not supporting it, then it's hard to really try to stand on that leg there, right? So I think there's a lot of information, a lot of data that goes into folks wanting to come into a city like Madera, right? There's a lot of opportunity. Is it land? They look at demographics. They look at the proximity to corridors such as 99. Whenever a business wants to come to a city, they look at all that. They factor that in because they're planning. These are planners that are looking, this is where I can make a profit or margin. And with it comes the indirect benefits, which is employment, right? Employment for already a very oppressed employment situation we have here. So we need to get folks running. And I think there are going to be people that are going to welcome these stores, and there's going to be people that are not. And unfortunately, I can't. I'm not the responsible party for that. I'm not the one deciding whether they come in and whether they leave or not. It's going to be that decision from the corporation wanting to come in or not. Do we accept it? We're here to accept permits for anyone. We don't want to discriminate anyone coming in.
Well, I think you got to look at, again, for us and our family, 30 years ago, we were a jewelry business. Then we started doing, cell phones. We were the first cell phone business. Then we started doing pagers. And then we did limos. Then we did security, and my dad was always looking at what's the newest, hottest thing, let's do it. And then obviously you can imagine we're not doing pagers, pagers phased out. We didn't throw our arms up in the air and go like, oh, let's save the pager business. He realized that's it. It phased it out and went to cell phones. Did the cell phones until, Verizon kind of pushed us out because they were making their corporate store here. We didn't get up in arms. Okay, yeah, we were a little upset. It was a good business. Phased it out. We were doing security. Security is working. We've been doing it now for over 20 years. Now if there was something you would say, okay, is our corporate security going to come take us out? Okay, that's when we could get a little upset, but if we're doing our job, we're going to stay in business. And I think that's kind of where some places you got to look at the bigger picture. If I own some restaurant or some business and it's not working, I have to have that foresight and say, what's the next? All right, close that out. Yeah, whatever, but what am I opening next? What's the new hot thing? What's the new need? Not just say, well, no, this is it. This is all I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do, and it's got to survive, and you better support me or I'm going to be mad. No, realize that you did what you did. You had your time. It's over. What else are you doing now? That's it. You got to adapt. So.
Yeah, I like that. If you're selling a product, it's different than selling a service, right? Security, you're selling a service, and you're probably going to have more longevity with that type of service, right? Because there's experiences, there's experiences that you're giving consumers. Mm-hmm. It almost becomes a household name. I trust the value that I'm getting with this, right? But those individuals who are selling a product, I absolutely agree. You have to be willing to pivot and say, shoot, pagers aren't relevant anymore. What do I need to sell? If you're a restaurant, hey, this stuff's not moving off the menu.
What's your new product?
It's not exciting.
You can't just say there's 10 taco places. Yeah. I'm going to keep making tacos. What else am I going to do?
And you are seeing some cool tacos out there, right? The birria tacos are coming out. Everybody wants to have their niche. And I know that if I go to this restaurant, I'm going to get this niche. Yeah. If I go here, I'm going to go get that niche. Yeah. So I think adapting is absolutely key. Well, I know we have a next set of questions in there. Yeah. I want to get to those. I know the viewers are at the edge of their seats begging for us to get there. So, and I think we've been doing such a great job of covering all this stuff.
I'll start us off. Mm-hmm. Is the community better off staying local?
Mine says, what can small businesses do better?
And who offers a better experience to customers?
Yeah. So we kind of touched on a lot of that, right? But I do like your question, Jose. Maybe we should answer that with just a simple yes or no.
Is that community better off staying local? And again, I think we talked about it. In certain cases, I think it is. It's important. For example, you brought up security and you talked about the service. I think service is key. Mm-hmm. You have restaurants in our community also that by far are open and people decide to go there because of something's happening there that they love, right? They love the service and they're willing to pay, and that's in the restaurant business, right? Obviously, we have McDonald's, Taco Bell, and what have you, but I mean, that's going to cater to a certain demographic. But then you have your restaurants with finer dining and what have you, and then those are busy. I go to the Vineyard, for example, and it's always busy there. Why do people continue to come back there? What is it about that? The owner's there every single time I go there, shakes my hand, says, how you doing, Jose, knows your name. Yeah. I love that experience. If I go eat somewhere in Fresno, for example, and I know the waitress, and they make me feel like I'm there, I'm going to continue going there because of the service that I get, right? And in certain cases, where you want to stay local. I can go to the GBS here down the street, right? And there's something there that I like. People know your name. You walk in there, and I don't mind paying the additional 50, 30 cents to keep that business going. It's just the experience that you have. But in other cases, again, where you're trying to stretch that, and I think it's more in fuel, food, and other commodities that are important to the household. Those you have to really consider, and it doesn't matter if it's the Valero here or if it's the Chevron over there. Whichever is going to give me extend my dollar a bit more, that's where I'm going to go. And if service is that important to you, then you'll make that decision because you have that flexibility in the income that you make to do so.
Yeah.
I think it's better off depending on what type of store or what type of product or service you're selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think you should stay local as much as you can. You know, as much as you can. You know, it is going to make sense to use a local retailer, but when it says should the community, was it stay local or?
Is the community better off staying local?
Yeah, and so staying local to me, it's not saying should it stay small business, right? It's just saying stay small local. There's people within our community that work at Walmart. You know, so supporting Walmart or Taco Bell or McDonald's, you're supporting local employees, right? But not just that, but when businesses come into a city, right, there's sales taxes, there's transaction taxes that are implemented on those businesses that the city actually benefits from, right? So staying local, you know, hey, instead of heading out on a road trip and stopping in Fresno to get your McDonald's breakfast, get it from here, right? Because that sales tax is going to go towards your city, right? Little things like that make a difference. If 1,000 people a day are doing that, that half a cent, that turns into some extra money for the city, for roads and everything like that, right? So staying local is important in that, right? I think that people don't realize that sometimes how that works. It's like, it doesn't always mean, hey, small businesses might not be open on Sundays, right? Because it's ran by a family and that family's at church, right? Even Chick-fil-A's closed and they're a corporate retailer, right? They have those values. That's okay. You can go to McDonald's and stuff and still be able to support your community. But aside from that, that side of it, staying local, man. When I think of business owners, they're usually the first in line to sponsor a fundraiser or a local little league team, a soccer team, right? They're usually your biggest contributors to the community. They're investing back. And sure, there may be some, well, I want my name on a little league team so people can know that I'm here. But that's just survival. If somebody's marketing, I never look at that as, oh, you're in it for the business. Yeah, you are in it for the business. That's what this guy does for a living.
Livelihood.
Right? That's their livelihood. I'd rather see that than them robbing people, right? Or them stealing or living a life of crime. I'd rather see that. So I believe that supporting these local individuals because they support us, when you can, do it. It's absolutely a good idea.
Well, the locals, you got to have it. I know your whole Measure T doesn't work without local support from shopping here, I think it's tough because as a city, and this is not to put you on the spot, but I think as a city and council, there needs to be more that incentivize to stay local. The reason why, unfortunately, my wife loves the new Target on Herndon 99 is not for the Target. It's for, she has the whole, like you said, experience of everything she could imagine she might need within a walking distance. Where if I go to Walmart, okay, there's Sal's and there's, there's a couple other small niche stores, but none of which, we have a desire to really need to visit. Right. So I can't just go to one spot. I'll be driving all over town. Okay, I got to go Walmart. I got to, to get the same experience as going to some of those places. So it's almost like there's got to be something to incentivize more, small business, whether it's small or retail, to kind of, bring something more congested to the area, not be. Now we have like all these different little shopping centers all over town that it's great. You get one experience here, but then you got to drive over here to get this other experience, and you got to go over, just like you said, GBS. I go to GBS. I think it's, it's good, especially if you need some of those niche things. They're probably going to have it where a Lowe's or a Home Depot won't. You're going to have better help because there are more knowledgeable people there. But I can't go to them for everything. There's a lot of things they don't carry, and that's okay. but I'm going to have to now go here and then go here. You know, I mean, I'm not going to have that same experience as, like I said, if I went to a Fresno location.
And that's
So-
a prime example. And one of the things that we did leave out, and I have to just say this because online shopping has really taken over. I mean, my house, I think Amazon probably drives there once a day.
Yeah.
And it's convenience. You said it earlier, it's convenience. People are now adapting to, hey, I got a mobile phone here in my hand that allows me to order the necessities that I need. I no longer have to make that drive, avoid the drive to Fresno. If I can get the accessories or whatever products that I need, I can have them delivered to my home. And that's a good thing. See, if and you talked about this, right, with sales tax, because a lot of times if you order from your home, then those sales tax come back to us versus you making that drive out there. And I think you touched on that as well. Yeah, that half cents not only will go for the roads and transportation, but you also have a measure that we have here for police and fire. Then you have the additional 1% that comes back to us as well, and that generates income. That's the biggest revenue generators are their sales tax, right? And that's huge. So if you do stay local, it's great. If you decide to buy something that we don't have here, buy it online. Buy it online because then we generate that tax here. But incentivizing, it's not so much about incentivizing. It's corporate retailers wanting to say, you know what, I want to come to Madera. We have land. You know, there's land use for all that there, right? But it's a matter of them saying, is this a good location for me? Do I want to invest millions of dollars in putting up these walls and these box stores up there when I get the same amount of revenue sales by leaving one out here in Fresno and or by the online sales that I'm getting through this area? So those are decisions they have to make because this is some of the expenses that they have to consider when they make it here. So we can certainly incentivize and say, come on out here, but we don't want to give away the farm. You know, obviously.
But it's almost like a moratorium on new development in a sense. You know, if you're going to build a new shopping center, you know, across town, you need that congestion to some degree. I mean, again, that's what Fresno does better is because there's nowhere to expand. There's no new property.
Yes.
They're gonna, you know, you have to pick here, and it makes it so that there's almost 100%, you know, filling of those stores. Where again, you go, you know, to like the Walmart shopping center or Lowe's, it's not always 100%, you know, and there's not always the best options because they'll just go somewhere else to, oh, you know what, this place not doing well, that's okay. There's an empty plot over here. We'll build it. We'll just build a new one there.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're just kind of expanding too far.
So what do you guys, or what's your insight on, you know, how much does the value of the Walmart Plaza and the Country Club Plaza right there where the Burger King, how much are those vacancies expected to fill? We have Starbucks right off the 99, Cleveland 99. We have Dutch Brothers right off Cleveland and 99, just a block away. And people would say, why do we need a Dutch Brothers right there? Well, you know what? Why would they go a block away? They chose to.
Yeah.
They made that decision. It's strategic on their end, right? While Grandma's getting herself a coffee, Grandma, I want a Dutch Brothers, right?
Yeah.
While Mom and Dad want Starbucks, you know, which is, you know, that they cater to that demographic. Now we have, you know, the next generation saying we want Dutch Brothers, right? Ultimately, what it all does is it gets people off the freeway stopping here in Madera, right? So now it's a huge opportunity for those, you know, where they have plenty of vacancies, shopping centers with plenty of vacancies, kind of filled by these little, like, you know, gifts and things type, you know, stores. Now some serious players could actually park right there, and that traffic is just gonna build, right? And you know, now we have In-N-Out, and people, you know, man, why would you put In-N-Out right there? In-N-Out wants to be right there. In-N-Out says we're gonna come, we're gonna, you know, yeah, we'll make the investment. This is where we want to be. Anytime you drive through In-N-Out in River Park or 99 in Herndon, that line is jumping, man.
But the thing is, I mean, again, going back to the David, why In-N-Out? Why can't we just recognize it's just a burger? Why can't a small business meet the same burger demand? You know,
They can't.
But you know, I mean, that's what's so crazy about it is when you look at it, you go like, here's a business they're going to sell hamburgers. That's it. Why aren't you going and saying, I'm going to open a hamburger place
Right.
and have it be the next big thing?
Oh, you're
you know?
saying if you are a small business, why not recognize that it could be something as simple as
Yeah.
that? But I think people do, and I think people crash and burn because when you're on a family vacation, hey, see if there's an In-N-Out ahead, right? You don't say, hey, see if there's a Rohi's Burgers ahead,
Yeah.
right? You have to get there, and I think it's possible, but that you start getting these household names of In-N-Out. And then that becomes your anchor, right? I think anytime we go to LA, we know that we're gonna stop right there, right before the Grapevine. There's an In-N-Out right there, and we're gonna eat there, right?
Yeah.
I like Popeye's chicken, and I just found out there's a Popeye's chicken there now, and so it's like, cool. You guys go there. I'm gonna go to Popeye's. Then we're gonna hit the outlets because they're right there.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, obviously, it's stirred up some controversy around here whether or not the existing business should be there or the In-N-Out. And again, it's not a decision that's made by a lot of people think it's made by the city council, but a lot of times it's made by the owner, property owner. They have an agreement, and you lease to these folks, and obviously they're better off with an In-N-Out. That's going to be their decision. I can't really stipulate and tell a business owner, hey, you can't have that there. I mean, I would be in some way infringing on their rights also to create business. Right now, if the business is something else that stirs up a community uproar, then yeah, I mean, we want to see those folks at these events or these planning commission events where, I mean, you're in a planning commission, you see these, and then if there's a flood of people out there picketing, hey, no, I don't know if you saw that, but when that was brought to you, obviously that was an opportunity to people make their public comment about In-N-Out and what have you. So at this time, I think it's already set. Hopefully we get an In-N-Out here in the upcoming year. They'll start building and we'll be able to experience what people in Fresno do, because a lot of people do drive to go get that In-N-Out. And going back to what you said, it's revenue. I mean, imagine people off the freeway dumping their money here that otherwise would go out to Fresno to do it.
Yeah.
Now we're capturing a net to bring in those dollars that we can shift and utilize in a way that may benefit our community in a better way, right? And that's maybe incentivizing other retailers to come out, or maybe other business owners to come out, and they can be local, they can be a chain store. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't capture those dollars if we don't have a sign up there saying, hey, we're open for business. And that net captures in tons of dollars. And if you don't believe me, go out to Fresno River Park, go out to Shaw, and you'll see the line of cars just nonstop. So that means there's a lot of revenue coming in there, and we need to capture some of that as well.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to my question right here was, what can small businesses do better? Right. And I liked what, Rohi's point was earlier regarding, evolving, right? You have to be willing to adapt to your environment, adapt to what's working, what's not. You have to be able to make changes, not be so prideful. I only sell beepers. I love that, right? Because some things just age out, and that it's inevitable. You have to change, otherwise you're gonna go under. But one thing that I would strongly recommend, in addition to that, for small businesses, is creating value to the employees, right? And by that I mean training, right? Giving employees a certain amount of training does provide long-lasting value, and I think that's something that corporate retailers do very good, right? Starbucks, we were talking about it not too long ago. They have an entire training program that almost like a university, and when you work for these corporate retailers, it'll be like Starbucks University, right? And this is the way we do things. This is everything from how you greet somebody to how you clean, how you take your breaks, all of that stuff, right? It can be transferred over to the next job that you get. Other people recognize that. Oh, you used to work at Starbucks? This employee worked at Starbucks. We know they understand customer service. We know they understand certain things, right? Because you trust that company, that big giant corporate retailer, gave them and infused these values, right? And so how do you compete with that as a small business owner? A lot of small business owners that I know, not all, but the ones that I know, they're usually the ones, reading. They're trying to, infuse themselves with knowledge and try to learn, the art of, winning, friendships and, things like that. Give that to your employees too. Help them grow, help them be better individuals, so that when they step into that interview and try to get their career, they can be proud. I worked at Jose's tax service company, and these are the things I was taught, right? Mm-hmm. And and they can go with confidence, not just, oh yeah, I worked there and it was good job, and the owner was hardly ever there, and I didn't really talk to him, right? No, hey, look, every single month the owner required that we did this, that we met, we had role playing with sales, all this stuff, right? Give them something, give your employees something to want to be there, right? Be that business in the community. If there's 3 t-shirt stores and you're one of them, be the one that people want to work at. I think that's pretty good value.
I mean, I look at it, I think that the corporate can do things, or the large retailers can do things sometimes a little better. I mean, again, but when you get down to it, the small business is the one that's going to give you the best service, in the sense of like the personalized service, like you said. I mean, like if I go back to the GBS thing, if I go there, there's almost a 1-to-1. Like I got this person who's going to stick with me, walk me to the aisle, tell me about it. They're going to have to be knowledgeable. I go to Lowe's, you're like, I have to push a button. I need help over here. Where is this item? Well, let me look it up on the computer. Like they don't, that personalization isn't there. I come back, it's another person that's there. I don't know who that person is. Where I go GBS, same people that have been there for the last 5-10 years. They know me, they know what I'm doing. Hey, how you doing? It's a lot more personable, and you get a little bit better experience in that regards. I think that's the thing. I mean, like corporate is again so driven to sales. When you go to like the Verizon, or you go to like Best Buy, these places where you have tech, and you're like, hey, this computer is giving me some weird thing. Oh, you just need to buy a new one. Buy a new one.
Yeah.
You just got to fix it. No. Just here's a new one that came out. It's on sale today. Here, buy it. And you're like,
so Roy, do you think all of that knowledge though, or that personalization, is it necessary with technology? You have your cell phone. If I'm looking for a light bulb that comes on when it gets dark, am I waiting to ask those questions? Waiting till I get to GBS or Lowe's, or do I look it up, know exactly what I want? Oh, hey, here's a buy now button, and just buy it right away.
Well, I mean, I think you got to understand. I mean, there are some people nowadays that, you're going to do the research. You're going to know exactly. I'm just looking for this item.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of times you're going to go like, look, I'm having this issue. What do you think it might be? Oh, again, I go to GBS. They're going to go, here, try this, or you can try this kind of thing, where I don't think you quite get that at the Lowe's experience. It's kind of like, well, let's just buy a whole new one. Hey, do you know we install that too? It's like, it's more the sales versus the kind of help you mentality.
Yeah, and I think to your point, when we talk about GBS, it's more about, people that are there for a long time, right? Because maybe there's benefits that include there, maybe their pay or something. Mm-hmm. Whereas a corporate retailer, you may have, it's more like an assembly line, right? It's a lot of sales, and turnover is big there, right? Because, maybe the pay isn't as great, right? We don't know that, right? But I think a lot of times if pay was there, a lot more benefits, more, you incentivize these employees, and obviously they own that department, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to Lowe's and you ask for something in plumbing, they'll tell you exactly someone that knows plumbing. Because there's times that I can walk in there and frankly, I just go, hey, I'm looking for this particular part to do this. They're not going to know. They're just, okay, the PVC pipes are over there, and that's where you get them at. That's in that department. Somebody's going to own that department, but with limited knowledge. Whereas if you go somewhere like a local place, they're going to tell you exactly how to go about it. And sometimes they add more value to that. The fact that they're with you, they take you there, hold your hand, tell you this is what you need. Boom. That to me is priceless. I would be willing to pay a bit more for someone to help me and really get to what I want. The end goal is to try to get this sprinkler fixed. Yeah. Okay, here's how you do it. Here's what you do, right? You can see a video, of course, but someone there that's guiding you makes it so much easier. That makes you want to come back to that local place there. So,
but you got to be doing that, right? You got to be offering that value.
Correct.
And that's where, does your dollar extend, now you're extending your dollar. Now you're a small business who, this is our value. This is who we are. We're experts. I was plumbing for 30 years. Come here for all your plumbing needs, because I'm going to be able to give you that experience.
So, and that's the difference, right? In that particular service, I want to extend that. You talked about it earlier with restaurants. I'm willing to pay that extra dollar for that flavor, for that authentic Mexican flavor, right? But when it comes to raw materials, food, veggies, and stuff, that dollar may be better used here, because it's this is where I need. I know it's a ground of meat there, beef or turkey or what have you. I can probably extend my dollar up more if I go here, right? Yeah. They're not going to tell you how to make a casserole or anything like that with that, right? You just know that, hey, that pound of meat's going to serve me better for me and my family.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're running out of time here, but I know that we pretty much addressed all the questions, Abel. Is there anything else that we left off?
No, yeah, I think that I think we covered a lot. Let us know what you think about the David versus Goliath scenario that we ran through, corporate retail versus locally owned businesses, and we'd be happy to go through your comments and share them at the beginning of next show and discuss them real quick and let your voice be heard. So
Yeah, and if you are local and you're thinking of maybe advertisement, get a hold of us. We'll certainly like to advertise anything that's local, or anyone for that matter that may be interested in doing any ads. So we're open to that too. Leave your comments.
all right, sounds good, fellas. Well, thank you guys. Have a great week, and we will see you Jargoneers in the near future. Hey, thank you for watching. Take care.